you started finding out, which was so weird. I can't do this. And then you're doing these speaking gigs. People are coming to you left and right for speaking gigs. And I was like, you came to me and you said, I'm like booked all month. I said, are you charging people? And you went, no. I said, you need to be charging some people.
Exactly.
So how much? You told me, what was it, $1,500 for a speaking gig?
Making Business Effortless's mission is to support successful entrepreneurs by sharing the stories of high-performing service-based business owners while sharing tips and helpful resources so you can buy back time and make more wealth in your business and in your life.
I am in here with one of my favorite clients. All my clients are my favorite, but I'm in here with Dr. J.L. Adolph. He was in my challenge last year, was it? I think it was.
Yes.
Gosh,
Yes.
you've grown so much. You've done so much. But you were a member of the challenge and you won the challenge because you were the guy that stepped up and did all the challenges, even messaged me, oh, dear God, Leah, I'm going live. Oh, God. You were freaking out about that. All kinds of imposter syndrome galore. And then you moved into the Effortlessly Book program. And now we have somebody who's getting hired for speaking, traveling the country, bitches.
Exactly.
It's the magic of the Effortlessly Book program. So what I love about you is that you do some social media, but that's not really the core of your marketing. It's actually your speaking gigs, right?
That's correct. The speaking engagements have been beneficial to the brand that I am currently growing at Cypher Edutainment.
And I remember when we first started, you said, I'm having an issue with doing this because first, I think before we do that, let's talk about what your program is so people can get an idea of this comment that I'm saying right here. So what I'm saying is when he came to me, he said that he doesn't feel like he's the right person to do this kind of coaching. And it's trauma coaching because he's not a psychologist, but he is the patient who lived it and has amazing results. He is a successful professor at a university. He is also a successful public speaker and travels the country to speak to people about something that he loves dearly. And I'm going to let him tell you all about it right now.
Well, thank you, Leah, so much. Well, first and foremost, my name is Dr. J.L. Adolph, the extra large professor of Cypher Edutainment. So I am excited to be a part of and being a graduated member of Effortlessly Booked. It was instrumental to the shifting of my mindset from an academic to actually becoming an entrepreneur and a person that actually has a brand. So that Cypher Edutainment is a program that's really where I serve as an educator to the educators. And when I say educators, I mean not just anyone. I am looking for rebel educators who are looking to make positive change into a failing American educational system. These are the individuals who are really trying to move beyond No Child Left Behind, all of these different types of testing, and really get back to the core, and that's educating our kids. And in particular with Cypher Edutainment, our primary focus is how do we help educators who are working with at-risk, pregnant, or parenting teens? And specifically, we try to look at how do we boost these individuals' literacy skills? And most of all, how do we help them with their career readiness? And we do that through hip hop therapeutic writing. Now, some people may say, hip hop, what do you mean? It's misogynistic and all of this. Yes, it is, but so is Shakespeare. So is many stories in biblical texts and that sort of thing. Hip hop is the voice that really the only genre of music and culture that speak about deep psychological issues. And in particular, how it serves students is it really talks about dysfunctional families, and
Mhm.
it talks about uh, emotional the emotional intelligence deficit.
Mhm. Yeah.
It talks about a lot of these different things that at-risk pregnant and parenting teens are dealing with. So by empowering educators, we are looking at how do we use the English language, how do we use writing as a therapeutic process to help these individuals heal from their traumas in order to step into their purpose. Unfortunately, in the number one challenge that, especially I live in the state of Georgia, 44% of our at-risk students are dealing with homelessness, and another 45% are dealing with psychological family traumas. These challenges impact these individuals from being able to take in knowledge and then go into the greater world and good and step into their purpose. So I use that cipher edutainment to empower educators to show them how do we use hip hop in such a way to get these students to start
And,
writing and that sort of thing.
and it gets their attention because you started
Mhm.
out with targeting fatherless fathers in your community,
Yes.
African American fatherless fathers. And the reason why he did that was because he was or is a fatherless father, but yet managed to get yourself out of some pretty serious situations and rose above all that. And you wanted to show others how to do that. And it grew to this. And when you
Oh
were
yeah.
with me in the Effortlessly Book program, you started finding out, which was so weird. I can't do this. And then you're doing these speaking gigs. People are coming to you left and right for speaking gigs. And I was like, you came to me and you said, I'm like booked all month. I said, are you charging people? And you went, no. I said, well, you need to be charging some people.
Exactly.
So how
Exactly.
much you told me, what was it, $1,500 for a speaking gig?
Yeah, I was at the Elect conference, and Elect is a great conference that's out of Pennsylvania, and they specialize in working with pregnant and parenting teens. And it's really it's a dedicated group of social workers who help educators. And so my program really just came in, and I really gave them tips about how do we help these kids journal? How do we help them to get vulnerable enough to heal? And knowing
Yeah.
that these students have different challenges than your average student. We're talking about 15 and 16-year-olds who are becoming parents for the very first time while trying to keep their education, while dealing with fatherlessness and dealing with imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So I really was looking at how do we use their stories of struggle and transform them to a brand of resilience.
Like you did. I mean,
Mhm.
um, I think that's what makes you so powerful is you're not just another authority figure or somebody in the social services or a teacher. You're not just another you're somebody who's like going, "Hey dude, I've been there. I get it. I understand. I know the struggle because I have, effed up left and right
Mhm.
through
Oh
as
yeah.
a kid and otherwise and
Yeah. Oh
done
yeah.
some things I am not proud of, but I get it. And here's what I
Yes.
did. Yeah.
Yes. I would probably say, the biggest challenge as a fatherless youth is to realize that not is to realize one that it was an injury, it was a wound that took place.
Mhm.
And that wound was only exacerbated or further broadened by the fact that I also grew up in poverty. I
Mhm.
also had the
The world.
challenges of all of these different challenges. And really what it was I would say this: I had a world that was writing a narrative about me. And this is why writing is so important, because if we don't teach our students how to write, and I don't mean just necessarily how to write a thesis and that sort of
No,
thing.
no, no, no.
If we don't teach them how to really take the pen and author their life story. It will be written for them. And unfortunately, I had a life story that was being written by poverty, but written by historical traumas,
Mhm.
racial traumas, all of these different sort of traumas. And it just really effortlessly booked, working with that as well as therapy and as well as, this hip hop therapeutic writing helped me to realize that it wasn't my fault, the circumstances, but is my responsibility to take ownership of that
Mhm.
and to heal. And so programs like effortlessly book therapy, and this sort of thing is so instrumental
You
to
know,
the
they say if you want some good therapy, become an entrepreneur.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I journal, I know I
Mhm,
hear you about the writing aspect because it gives you a time
mhm,
to really process. I do stream of consciousness,
mhm.
which really helps you just get it out there. Just get all the stupid things, get it all down on paper and sit back. Because I think
Mhm.
what we do is we get caught up in our own thoughts, and there's like 16,000 of them there running around in our
Yes.
head while we're sitting there telling ourselves that we're worthless, we're not worthy, we're too fat, we're too old, whatever the hell. My
Mhm.
father was never present, or I grew up poor, or whatever the hell we want to tell ourselves, right?
Right.
But at the same time, when you get it all down in paper, you can see it better.
Oh yeah.
It like it declutters your brain for a second and tells it to just, hey, shut up.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. You know what? And I honestly think that we have to name our demons before we can slay them.
Mm.
And so by writing out the ugliness that we see, we can then say, okay, it's on this paper. I have the power now to ball it up, to scratch it out, to write over it. And it's just taking it from the psychological or spiritual realm and bringing it to that physical space allows you to realize that you have the power to change that, which is why it's so important to have like not only journaling but vision boards. You have to
Mm.
take what's in that psychological and spiritual realm and place this into the physical world, and
Mhm.
then you start manifesting, because really that's all entrepreneurs do. They take time, they think about a major issue or a major need or a service. And then they say, how do I take it out of this psychological realm and put it into something that's very actionable
Mhm.
and move forward? And that's really one of the things that I would say that I learned from Effortlessly Book. You challenged me with a lot of homework assignments that was about get this out of your head and put it onto the page. And
Mhm. Yeah, in
once
the
that
very beginning,
idea,
you're talking about how we mapped out your offer and got
yeah,
our head around what you really wanted. Yeah.
exactly. And by doing that, it really kind of took those ideas that I had, that was really kind of festering and drowning in that imposter syndrome, but it kind of took and put it in a physical space where I could see it, look at it,
Mhm.
and then I could say, okay, what are the micro steps that I can take to make this happen?
And
So
that
really,
happened in those first 2 weeks, I think, or 3
oh yeah,
weeks maybe, because the 3rd week we started having then we started selling, but we were always selling from the very first day, but we really
mhm,
got into it when you had more clarity. And I remember when you sat down and it's so funny. You're like that overachiever. We were sitting there, just mapping out your niche and really just thinking about all the little bits and pieces, who you really wanted and all that kind of stuff, and just really getting I think that was one session where we sat down and really looked at your niche, because I also reminded you it's
mhm,
evolutionary, because when you met me, you were targeting a different person, and now you're
mhm,
targeting people that I think is so amazing, because the way you evolved, you were targeting fatherless fathers, and you
mhm,
found out that's not really there. You do still teach them, but
yeah,
you're like, that niche. I've got some issues with that particular person. They're not
Yes.
ready to make the change, or they're too set in their ways to make the change. And so
Correct.
you started thinking about it and you went, well, you know what? I could go to the people that actually are
Mhm.
involved with the youth and get them early to make bigger change.
Exactly. Exactly. Especially when we talk about unnecessary group like parenting teens, pregnant teens, and at-risk youth. We have to reach that. As I stated, like Frederick Douglass always had this phrase that it's easier to help children than broken men. And I
Mhm.
think of what he was getting at is we have to get people while they're young before they become fixated, because it's really harder to change. The older that you get, the harder it is to change the mindset.
Yes.
Which is why, effortlessly book. I applaud what you do, Leah, because I mean, you're really taking individuals who the world, for the most part, have said it's going to be so hard or it's going to be so challenging, and you really help them to get to a point where, okay, how do you heal from that brokenness that's telling you that you cannot do this,
And
and how do you go ahead and
now
move
let's sweep
forward?
away all that clutter. Now here's what we got.
Right, right, right. It's really that. You know what?
Let's take away all the lies you're telling yourself and let's take a look at what you
Yeah.
got.
You know what? You know what I would say to your audience? I would say this. It's kind of like Leah is good at scorching the earth. She scorches that earth. And that's a good thing. Because
You
you
just
have
made me lose my headphones.
to. You
So,
yeah,
salt to the earth. Okay, there we go. Let's start over again.
yeah, because you kind of gotta burn all of that.
Yeah, we
Because
didn't really start all over again. I just went,
yeah,
well, that's not needed. That's okay. We'll work
right,
on that, but right now we need to focus here. And I think that's what it really
right.
was. Yeah.
And I think for me especially, the earth that I had before was filled with weeds of doubt, weeds of different sort of insecurities and all of that. And really, with this program, it was like, okay, one of the things I think that really helped me to start realizing that I have to really dig deep and make a mindset shift was when you just reminded me, like, who is it that you want to serve? I
Mhm.
think one of the big misconceptions that society or social media has shown, they make entrepreneurship as if you're just going to be a boss.
Yeah,
And being a
all
boss,
you need is this checklist and you're good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're going to have this checklist, or
Magic is gonna happen.
yeah, or and being the boss to me says that I want to be recognized and I want to be served. But what you really show and effortlessly book is you have to begin with the desire to serve other people.
Mhm.
And I think what you have shown with effortlessly booked, it really helped me to realize that one has to make a shift from being a boss to a leader,
Mhm.
and that is like, I'm not interested in my program, I'm not interested in followers, I'm interested in developing leaders.
Love it.
So that's what effortlessly book helped
Yeah,
me with.
we don't focus on how many followers you got. We focus on what do you want from this? What is your desire? What are your values? What are the pillars that you're working from? And we're going to build from there. And I love that, you're like a little spiral staircase of that evolved and you shifted a little bit just because you still wanted to serve that person. It's the same person you're trying to serve,
Mhm.
but you found another way to get to them.
Yeah,
And that is true service, right? It's
right.
not being a people pleaser. It's not giving them whatever they want. It's not giving them a bunch of free stuff. It's sitting there going, how can I figure out a way to better serve this person that I want to serve? And
Correct.
you found
Correct.
a different route because why? Because you did exactly what I told you to do. Get out there and just talk about it. Don't worry about screwing it up. You're gonna screw it up 16 times. That's or more at once in one go. But
Exactly.
I think I told you several times we got people out there doing shit marketing making money. So don't worry about it.
Exactly. Point blank, as the young people say, period.
Yeah, I have that way of cutting through the shit, don't I? But
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, I think when I saw you in I no longer do challenges. Now I have my Facebook group, which the link is down in the show notes, along with JL's links. If you'd like to hook up with him, maybe you can collaborate with him. I know I have a few trauma coaches out there in my audience. You may be focusing on a different angle, but you guys may be able to collaborate together to discuss, how trauma affects people's lives, because I think it is very important.
Yes.
Um, but when I saw you, you got everybody's freaking attention in the group, in the challenge. I mean, just it was like, yeah, there he is. And then when you spoke, you did a video and you were like, oh, freaking out. And then when I saw the video, I was like, what the hell was he worried about? And what I loved, because we were talking before you came on here, before we hit record, you were talking about how when you were going through this aspect of the imposter syndrome aspect, right?
Mm.
You also mentioned how your own students are going through that too. But what I love is how you said you were going to write a book, and you said that the book was not you weren't going to do it. You were going to take a different way. And
Mm-hmm.
what I like is how your mind has shifted because you got past that imposter syndrome and now you've found different ways to reach your
Yes.
clients. And I love what you decided to do with your book. You were going to do this peer-reviewed article, right? You were going to do like a
Mm-hmm.
thesis and dissertation because you're a PhD.
Yeah.
But what did you decide to do instead?
Yeah. Instead of transforming my dissertation into a book, I decided that part of my life I needed to evolve from. Really, for the most part, I was afraid to step out on faith. I didn't want to share my particular story. For those who don't know, my dissertation focused on hip hop fatherhood narratives
Mm-hmm.
and how it may be beneficial for fatherless
Very
fathers.
teacherly. Yeah.
Yeah, and for the most part, I focused solely on the artist and what I perceived as
Mm-hmm.
the impact that it may have on individuals. But instead, I decided to focus the story on myself. So, not because I'm egotistical, but because I
Stop
feel
that.
like I wanted to have a testimony. I wanted. I think it's important that I be vulnerable enough to share my testimony and
Mm-hmm.
look at the ways in which hip hop has uh, enhanced my therapeutic process and helped me to not only heal but step into my purpose. So really, with Dad Cypher Edutainment, we know that these young people have the ability to survive.
Mm-hmm.
That I
Oh, well,
mean,
yeah, obviously.
you
Look at
know,
what they're in. Yeah.
yeah, they're surviving already, but we have to grow from a survival mindset
Mm-hmm.
to a thriving mindset. And I feel that's one of the things that effortlessly book. One of the things that Leah, you helped me with the most is you pointed out. You look at all of the things that you have overcome. You've endured. You have
Yeah.
endured all of those things. But you was like, now is the time to thrive in the sense of helping others to realize that they can heal and that they can also step out into their purpose. And I think that's one of the things we worked a lot, several weeks on mindset. I mean,
Well,
it,
and delivery and delivery.
yeah,
And it does have to do with mindset because you had to bring out your authentic self is what happened.
yes,
Because you were doing, I know in the beginnings, you were doing a lot of presentations about history, very teacher
mhm,
presentations. And I'm
yeah,
like, we need JL, pull him out of there. Because if you really think about it, okay, so comedians, celebrities, they all tell their story. Anybody that we really love, not just celebrities and comedians, but even basketball players, anybody. Think about the people that you really connect with. Do they sit there and give us educational stuff? No, they tell their story.
Right.
Anytime and every time they can. They don't go through the whole story. It has to be, related to the conversation. But but they tell their story, and that's, you just take that and you put it on social media, or you put it into your speaking events, and this keeps you from over delivery.
And you know what?
And it gives them something to go, oh wow, that's the transformation, right?
Exactly. And you know what? Now that you say that, that is even more a reason to get into hip hop therapeutic writing, because for the most part, it's little vignettes. It's little
shameless plug.
It's little 2 to 3 minute streams of consciousness, a little 2 to 3 minutes. That and we know, like for instance, we know that young people don't have a large attention span. This is why
really?
This is why Twitter and all of those and threads are so great for students. But imagine if we allow that small little space. But I would say this, when you and I would have our sessions, especially responding back to the homework and that sort of thing, you always, one of the things that I really admired about your service,
I love that you call it homework, by the way.
Well, yeah.
You're such a teacher. Go ahead. Sorry. It's just so funny.
Well, you know what? The things that you would also say, it's in a sense, it was kind of like hip hop therapeutic. You kind of had some of that in your work, because for those who don't know, if you get into the Effortlessly Book program, which you should do, one of the things that you began with is, what are you grateful for? And at first, I didn't understand it. I was like, why are we beginning with each session? Like, tell me your wins. What are you grateful for? And what I realized something is that you cannot, gratitude and imposter syndrome cannot exist in the same place. So right away, again, you were scorching the earth in terms of my mindset, and was really like, how do we burn away all of these insecurities and really get down to what are you grateful for? And when you are grateful, it fills you up. And guess what, folks? Really, Effortlessly Book, the reason why it's effortless is the fact that it's giving from your overflow. And that's really, when you are filled with gratitude and you realize how blessed and how great that you have things, then you could then start pouring that out. Like a billionaire is not sitting at his home and like, ooh, I wonder how I'm gonna pay these bills. No.
No, actually, no. I remember listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you know about him, but he's a hypnotherapist who talks about the quantum is basically changing your energy so that you can bring more positive energy back to yourself. It's manifesting. But anyway, he said something to the point of, if you can shift your mindset, reframe it, and I call it unplug the clog. We're not struggling to survive. We're not surviving. Look, you had a child and you chose to keep it and raise it. That's thriving.
Right.
Now where do we go from here? With your people and with my entrepreneurs, it's like, hey, you took the step to invest in yourself.
Right.
Obviously, there is no imposter here.
Right.
Right. And whether that's, engaging in my free content or buying a book or whatever it is, you're trying to find a way. And if you're in my program, I help you accelerate that. But it's all about, let's unclog that clog.
Right.
And let's do away with all the clutter and all the mess, put some Roundup on those weeds so we can grow some flowers.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I really enjoy about the program and the service that you're still doing, because one of the other things that I would say that I really enjoyed was the fact that you also helped us build community.
Mhm.
And I love the fact that your Facebook group is so, everyone, engages in one another because
That's because 'cause we're not worried about getting pitched.
exactly. But you know what? I was in a group with all kinds of different. We had people that were doing online classes, piano classes, all of these
Mhm.
different sort of things, and it was just amazing that
Are you talking about the challenge
no,
that you were in
after
or
the
just in general?
when you replaced me, Cheryl, and Jeff,
Oh,
and
yeah,
these
when we were
like,
doing the Effortlessly Book program doesn't do that anymore. I have a different way of doing it. It's to actually I do it through Voxer, thinking about adding Telegram, really not seeing a difference between the 2, but it's still one-on-one, but
right,
then we have the group where everybody can be and talk with one another. Um,
yeah,
but I think that the group was an interesting thing to investigate too, because you were able to see how
yeah.
many different people were out there and the different things that they were doing in this world.
Yeah, and it didn't make me and it helped me to not feel alone. I mean, because other people in the group had different forms of anxieties, but when you start realizing that you're not alone,
Mhm.
and that's what I would say that I really love about the Effortlessly Book program. It was really, yeah, you get individual, but also it was that group component as well that
Mhm.
can help to shift the mindset as well.
I
Because
may bring
really,
the group aspect back. I feel like what I want is I saw somebody mention, can we go back to the old days of Facebook? They posted this. Can't we go back to the old days of Facebook when you go in a group and you actually get support?
right, exactly.
And I was like, hey, that's what I'm trying to do over here. Nobody's allowed to pitch. I will pitch you, but it'll
hmm
be in my master class that's free where you'll get value. You
Exactly,
know, and then
exactly.
I've started really trying to encourage people to talk in the group, and I have people sharing their expertise, and I think that's what it's about. It can't all be my answers because we're building our businesses on our terms, and to get ideas and to know that we're not alone in all this and to learn from one another is how we make the online space beautiful, which is the same thing you're doing with
Mhm.
your community. It's not about I'm the only person that knows everything. It's
Right.
about what are you doing to help these kids? Well, here's something that's worked for me.
hmm
And I'm doing the same in the business space. A lot of people seem to get irritated with me when I ask questions. They're like, "You're fishing." I'm like, "No, I'm not. Genuinely want to know what the hell you've been doing." you know?
Exactly, exactly. And you know what? And it's important because you also have to. One of the things that I would say with Effortlessly Book that I learned is it's important to get your
Mhm.
niche. You
Well,
know,
not
and
just get the niche, but really, I love what you've done with it. You've researched it. You've continued that researching
yeah,
that we started with
yes,
because you don't
yes.
stop there.
Right. And the reason why I say that is because one thing that I would say that all entrepreneurs can learn from your group is it's not about trying to reach everyone.
Mm-mm,
Everyone is not going to be your cup of tea.
mm-mm.
But what it does is it's going to help you to find who is your ideal client. Who is it who is your platform designed for? And just know all platforms are not for everyone.
Mhm,
So you're just trying to reach you stay into your zone of expertise and you try to reach the people
mhm.
that you want to serve.
And they
So,
resonate. You're
yeah.
like the lighthouse. They come to you. You're not the
hmm
tugboat dragging them, kicking and screaming into your services.
Right.
I see, for example, in my niche, and I think you may have seen it in yours as well. We tend to do this. In my niche, I see people, trying to convince that person,
Yes.
and I'm like, we're not in the business of convincing. We're in the business of serving.
Exactly. Exactly. I know for me, with Dad Soccer Entertainment, I'm not trying to reach every teacher.
Mm-mm.
Some teachers are very stuck, educators are stuck into their way, and they're, in a sense, they have found great prosperity in the current system and the
And
way
that's
it
fine.
is. And
Yeah.
that's fine. I am trying to reach those who are maybe frustrated, who see students hurting, and they're trying to figure out
They have a
how
different
do we help
mindset.
them.
They have a different
Yeah,
mindset, is what it is. There,
yeah,
because I worked in the schools too, and I
yeah.
did my dissertation. And my dissertation was actually trying to find out why in the hell people don't want to learn, what
Right.
makes them want to learn, and it's
Right.
oriented around literacy, the same thing that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Literacy is so important. But I remember going to the teachers to ask them some specific questions. Now, I went to go see the big four, math, science, English,
Mm-hmm.
all of that stuff. So, which out of those four that we know of
Mm-hmm.
do you think said, my students don't read, so they don't need literacy skills? Which one do you think
Mm.
said that?
That would be
Now
the
remember,
math
math,
student.
English,
Yes.
science,
Yes.
which one? And history. Which one?
Yeah, I would probably say it's the math student teachers.
Actually, the math teacher was my best one for literacy.
Oh,
My
really?
best one, because she said
Wow.
it's like they don't read the instructions. It's like it's like they
Mhm.
think that they just see the same problem and they should do the same thing. They're not
Yes.
really paying attention. But the person who said my students don't read was the history teacher.
Mm.
Isn't that
Mm.
interesting?
Wow.
Really?
That's
History?
unfortunate.
Really?
Yeah, really
Just like
unfortunate.
your whole thing is a book.
Right, exactly. And as a matter of fact, story is placed in it.
Hello.
It's the
But
story.
I find it interesting how certain people just don't have that mindset. They don't have the realization, and we're not there for those people. We're there for the people that want to follow in our mission,
Right,
basically. I'm
right,
here wanting to make it easier for people. That does not mean automate the crap out of everything and get bogged down with tech. It means let's figure out what your values are, what's your mission, and who do you want to share that with.
right.
And I tell people, your ideal
Mhm.
client is the person that you like working with. And what you found out
Exactly.
is, although you love those fathers, and some of them you really like to work with, but you found out a
Mhm.
few things about them that it was like, what's another way to get to them? And
Yeah.
you kept pursuing that, yeah. And that's the biggest
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah, I would say definitely the younger. And don't get me wrong, I still feel even with Dad Cypher Edutainment,
Hmm.
one of the other services that I do plan on branching out further is really showing educators how they can make their learning environments more
Hmm.
father friendly, because there are dads who are equally concerned about their child's education and that sort of thing. But however, a lot of times they feel isolated in these spaces because historically
Mm.
that has been only a space for motherhood
And that still
and that
ties with
sort
your
of thing.
services, though, because it's just
Yeah,
evolving, and you're discovering more and more about this mission of yours and how it really affects that person you're
yeah,
looking for. So
and
I
yeah, and it's really helpful for me for the most part is if we get these educators and I want educators to know it's education is not going to be a one size fits all.
mm-mm,
Mine is really trying to gear towards that. But you know what? I'm not going to be one of those people that try to sell snake oil. Like,
mm-mm, mm-mm,
you know,
no,
here's how
no,
you
we
go.
are not a one size fits all.
Exactly. And that's you know what, and that's what I love about Effortlessly Book, because you did have a lot of those questions, and it let me know that you weren't selling snake oil. Like to me, snake oil is people who can say, "I can turn anyone into an entrepreneur." No, you
No, you cannot.
can't.
No, you cannot.
And then I'll hear people how to motivate students. I was like, if you can come up with that, bottle it and
But you
sell it.
bottle that stuff up now.
Because you can't motivate
Only
someone
students can
who's a
motivate
shy.
themselves. Holding
Exactly.
people accountable is ridiculous.
Exactly.
It has to
So,
be. It's a two. If you want to be held accountable,
mhm,
well, guess what? I'm not going to finger lead and bottom feed you. You have to hold yourself accountable. I'll give you the steps. I'll give you some
exactly.
clarity about where you need to go. And that's the thing about Effortlessly Booked is you do speaking events. And the other
Hmm.
person that was in with us, Cheryl, she's a piano teacher.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then ESL Jeff, he's an online
Mhm.
teacher. He teaches people how to speak English and get jobs.
Shout
And
out to
then we had
Jeff.
Chris who helped people get interviews. I mean, we've got all these different people in there and they're all have the same problems of imposter syndrome. And what if this? I mean, Jeff went through imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, he did. And he's like, so freaking confident. It's silly.
Oh, man. Yeah.
But those are my members of the Effortlessly Book program. If you would like to learn more about my stuff, my services. The best way to go is for the Facebook group down below. It's got free masterclasses, free everything. But if you really do want to learn more about the Effortlessly Book program, you can simply email me at leah@leahsparrow.com and request my offer doc, and I'll give you the information and the pricing if you'd like to learn more about Dr. J.L. Adolph. The superstar of Challenge 2023, the Effortlessly Book Challenge of 2023. His information is down below as well. And you know what? This is what Effortlessly Booked and Making Business Effortless is all about. You are spreading love is what you are doing.
Yes.
And that is the best thing ever.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
It's not, for those in the hip hop community, it's not only the Brooklyn way that we spread love. We spread love through Effortlessly Booked too. Shout out to Brooklyn. We love you guys too.
Shout out to Brooklyn. Yo, Brooklyn. For some reason, the Beastie Boys just popped up. Thank you, JL.
No problem. Please sign up for Effortlessly Booked. It definitely helped me to change my mindset. And if you are on the fence, just know this. If you feel you've been called to something, then it's your job to take the steps towards it. So join, even if you just take the first step. Just sign up, get the information, and have a talk.
Join the group, get the information. You get samples of my services in the Effortlessly Book program. And of course, if you want to go deeper, you're always invited to join the program itself. But the Effortlessly Book community is there for anyone who just wants to know what this is all about.
Yeah, and it helped me out tremendously. And so I want to publicly thank you, Leah.
I'm proud of him.
I definitely appreciate it. So click and subscribe, folks.
Thank you for listening. Check out the show notes to join the Effortlessly Book community on Facebook for free resources and support.